this isn't just me being fucked up for no reason.
Mhm.
This like maybe I've been fucked from birth, but at least we know now. At least we know like what we're
You got
dealing
the
with.
science behind it.
And so we like, okay, if I was born with less chemicals than I should have to be
Mhm.
able to deal with stress, then I'm going to have to work a little bit harder than other people to learn how to manage my anxiety. Okay, great. Now I have an assignment.
Yeah, that's so smart.
And so now that's why like I'm so passionate about having a morning routine, doing meditation and mindfulness. I know a lot of people aren't very into meditation, and that's okay. Maybe you have some other thing that is your version of meditation, whether that's running, gardening, walking your
Walking, that's
dog.
mine. Mine is
Yeah,
walking. Yeah. I,
sure. Just something to turn your brain off and to just be present and be with your breath, whatever that looks like for you. I just think it's so important, especially now that we're in this time that we're constantly staring at screens and we are being disconnected from our bodies and from our daily reality. It's good
mhm.
to just ground down into wherever you are. And sometimes you don't want to do that. Like maybe things are stressful, but you have to like be there and sit with your feelings. Otherwise, they're not going to go
Well,
away.
that's the self-care part of it. Like self-care isn't going and getting a massage or a facial. That can be part of it, but like
Sure.
it is really about like doing what you need to do to make sure that your glass is full or make sure that you're recharged.
Right.
Because otherwise you're just going to keep stumbling through life and you're not going to have any of this self-awareness. You're not going to have any of the growth that can come from that self-awareness if you put the effort in.
Yeah, and that's I love reading biographies of successful or famous people uh, because I feel like I can learn a lot of lessons of
Yeah.
what they've learned from their failures, but also now that they're in their quote unquote like successful era, what habits did they have that are maintaining that?
Yeah.
Or and 9 times out of 10, it's like I get up super early, I do XYZ every single day. That's how I get through. Or um, everyone has some sort of routine that uh, not like in an OCD way, but just in a really healthy way sets them up for success.
That's exactly it. And that's so I similar story to you, but with depression instead of anxiety.
Hmm.
I grew up in a Catholic family and very much, what you were saying, like my grandpa was a veteran, didn't express any emotions other than fine and angry most of the
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
or irritable. I shouldn't say angry. I would say irritable.
Hmm.
And that kind of comes through. And I remember like I just learned what depression and anxiety was in high school. So I had no idea. I'm like, why have I felt this way for so long? And I started journaling. We've talked about this before, like when I was 6,
Hmm.
and it was because I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? What if a character felt this way? And then I'd write a story about it and it'd be kind of sad, but you just don't know. And then when I finally figured it out in my early 20s, at first I was just like, oh, okay. So I've just got this depression thing I just got diagnosed with. And it's like, cool. All right. And then I didn't like do anything. I just meandered around and, was
How old were you
depressed
when
all
you
the
got
time.
diagnosed in high school?
21.
Oh, okay, later. So around the
Yeah.
same age as
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
interesting.
I saw, I didn't have health insurance at the time, and
Hmm.
that was part of it. I didn't have a job. I was struggling. And, there was a local community that my friend told me about that, like basically gave free therapy to young people who couldn't afford it. So I saw someone there very briefly. It wasn't for a very long time. And that was when I realized it. And then I went to my doctor and like talked to my doctor about it when I finally did get insurance. And it was just like this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to live with this. I tried some meds. I tried a bunch of different meds. They had me up and down. And, one of them, Zoloft, finally helped me sort of regulate and level out. But then it was like, I was like 31 when I started seeing my therapist that I see now. And I just was like, I can't live like this. I can't live in this constant state of like irritability, unease, being around, like walking on eggshells around my family and not knowing who I was going to be showing up in the world. And that's when I started. And it made such a big difference in boundaries, like learning boundaries and how to set up and enforce boundaries around people helped me more than probably anything else except structure. Structure was key. I had to wake up. I had to force myself to get out of bed. It's one of the reasons I got a dog, was because on a bad day, I have a hard time getting out of bed.
Yes,
But
can
now
we
I have
just talk about how dogs can literally solve so many problems in people's lives?
totally. That's so true. Like getting him, because I haven't been able to have a day where I can't get out of bed and I have to call
No.
off work.
No,
And I've
you
had
I
him
mean
for about
you can
5
call
years
off
now.
work, I mean, but you still have to walk the dog. So,
Exactly. But I would have days where I would just literally wake. This is so bad to say, but wake up, be like, I'm not doing this, take some Benadryl, go back to sleep, wake up, I'm not doing this, take some Benadryl, go back to sleep. And it's awful, but like I had days like that all the way until I got the dog. It
yeah,
was
and I
such a
think you
life
have to give
change.
yourself grace for that. I don't think there's anything awful to say about that. If anything, it normalizes like what people go through. I've been through
Hmm.
phases like that after a breakup. So even if someone doesn't have long-term
Yeah,
clinical depression, even if they're just having a depressive episode, that's a very human thing that you went through.
totally.
And I'm sorry you had to go through it, but I think it's really brave of you to share.
I don't think I've shared that before. So this will be the first time. Thank you. And you too, just being able to talk about this